So it's super common to just get really, really frustrated whenever you encounter any kind of problem or obstacle in a language you might be learning. And that's basically what I'm going to address in this video, what kind of can be behind the frustration and how we can actually solve it. So let's get straight into it. This is basically the problem. I've kind of put it into a graph because I think that's a really good way for people to actually learn. This is, in my opinion, the problem I think a lot of people have. So here's you, basically, here is your goal. You essentially, your goal could be like learning Japanese or whatever language. You invest time and effort into making progress towards your goal, and then what happens is, obviously, because it's a very difficult and time-consuming thing, you're going to encounter plenty of obstacles, which I'll give some examples of obstacles on the next slide, but you're going to encounter many of these obstacles, and then it's going to lead to basically frustration because you don't actually understand how to deal with these obstacles. So that is effectively the problem laid out. Here is what the actual problem is if we go deeper. The problem is that you don't know how to navigate obstacles. So right now, if you were to, for example, not lose motivation, that's probably too generic. If you were to not be able to memorize these words, for example, you find it difficult to understand what they actually mean because it's a language like Russian, for example, that's not particularly close to your native language. And so you're just finding it a little bit difficult to grasp particular words or a particular concept rather than actually solve it, which, I'm going to show you how to actually solve problems in a second. But rather than actually solve it, it's basically giving you frustration, which is leading to unfulfillment. You don't feel as if you're making strong progress in the language you're learning. So the pattern is effectively you don't, it could be the fact that you don't understand something, the fact that you're demotivated, you're busy, you're not sure what to invest time in, any number of problems. But whenever you encounter one of these things, the pattern is that it basically results in one or two things, either emotional frustration or a solution. And it could be both. It could be frustration and then a solution. But more often than not, for most people, and we know this because most people aren't actually successful in the goals they set, but most of the time, you simply will get frustrated without actually solving the problem. So the solution is clear. We need to become problem solvers. We need to actually solve the problems we have rather than get frustrated. And that's easier said than done. So I'm going to give you an example in a second. But I just truly want you to understand that whenever you get any kind of problem in a language, you don't understand something, you're demotivated, literally anything. It could be specific to the language or it could be towards you, like you just don't have enough time. Whenever anything happens, it is an obstacle between you and your goal. And you literally have two options. You can either choose to get frustrated and that might lead to you giving up, but frustration is option one. And option two is to actually solve the problem and continue through. So you get to choose which one do you actually want to do. And the clear choice is obviously to be a problem solver and to fix these problems. But how do we actually do that? So I'll give you an example and then I'll explain what my kind of process is. You don't understand X words. So for me, for example, this has happened a bit recently. I didn't understand some words that I would encounter some words I didn't know and I would try and translate them. And it would be frustrating because they didn't really have a direct word for word translation. Like, for example, the Russian word voda, obviously that translates to water directly, but some words, there are a few different ones, just words that didn't really have direct translations. Those were really frustrating to encounter because I wasn't really sure how to use them myself when I need to use them because I just don't understand what they mean. And that's really annoying. That probably, even if you don't understand Russian or you're not learning Russian, that probably sounds frustrating to you listening to this. So the solution to that isn't to get emotionally frustrated, which I actually did do. I did that first and then I worked on solving it. The solution is to actually understand that I can in fact learn anything and to invest time into figuring out. So it's like, okay, I tried putting the word into Google Translator and then immediately got frustrated. Looking at that retrospectively, that's a pretty weak way to go. So what can I actually do instead? Okay, I can put the word into YouTube and instead of just trying to Google Translate it, which is like level 0 language learning, like I actually look back on this retrospectively and go, okay, I was being an idiot. That was the dumbest reason to get kind of pissed off. I can put that word into YouTube and actually find a video of someone explaining it. And whoa, okay, this is actually someone explaining it in a way that actually makes sense. Oh, and at the end of the video, there's an exercise where I pause the video and try and use the word in the correct way. And now I understand the word better. So when you have any kind of problem, the first step is to take a step back, look at how you're trying to solve it and how it's not working, and then basically judge how you need to solve it. If it's a concept you don't understand and you're, the textbook translation obviously doesn't make sense some of the time. You need to try a different medium of learning. At the end of the day, you need to take that foreign information and put it into your brain. And there are many, many different ways to do that. But if the way you're trying to do it, for example, I was just trying to use Google Translate like an idiot, isn't working, you need to try another way. And so I tried YouTube and that worked. And if that didn't work, I could keep looking for other videos on YouTube, or I could try a guide, or I could ask someone, I could join a free community like my Discord below and talk to someone, etc. There are a bunch of different ways. Same goes with me being demotivated to learn Russian. I'll just give this example quickly. I've recently been probably a little bit more demotivated. I'm not even 100% sure why, I just didn't feel like it. And that, I could either get emotionally frustrated that I'm not feeling like doing stuff, or I could fix the problem. And the problem is, I'll probably talk about more in my dopamine video soon, but the problem is that I just wasn't, the perceived fun of the language learning task I was setting myself was low. So I needed to do a few things. One, I needed to remember that these tasks are essential to actually becoming better at Russian. That shouldn't have been number one, but that's the thing I needed to do. The main thing I needed to do was to make the tasks fun, make sure they are productive, and yeah, really change my mindset going into it and go, okay, I can actually set myself tasks that aren't a complete bore and do things that I am actually going to enjoy. And that is basically how I made myself feel more motivated to learn Russian, by setting myself tasks that aren't ridiculously boring. And also, I started trying to do stuff first thing every day, even though I do talk about that a lot. I find that hard to do with my schedule at the moment, but I figured out a way to make it easier. And that's really helped as well. So trying to be more consistent in doing something first thing as soon as I wake up, I find that does actually benefit me. So yeah, but overall guys, if you do need a hand or anything, comment below. You're welcome to jump in the Discord. And I also have my coaching below if you want to check that out as well. But yeah, thank you for watching and have a good one.